Somewhere you can leave all your worries on the shelf, and whether you win or lose, you can count on me, and I can count on you. You know this train never stops. This train never stops. You know this train never stops. This train never stops. Guys, welcome in. Come on in. It's Trainwreck today, 65, presented by Herd of Buffalo Network. And we got a historic day today. You might not be able to tell completely because things look similar, but we're in a brand new studio brought to us by the partnership with Bruckman Media, Herd of Buffalo, Trainwreck Sports, and Hilbert College. We're here at Hilbert College, and I'm going to kick it over to our fearless leader, Zach. Oh, whoa, that's not Zach. That's right. Unfortunately, Zach, we love you. The maniac himself, as a maniac of a sickness right now. You know he would be here if it wasn't anything that kept him down and out. So we got Gatesy joining us in the spot. Gatesy, how we doing?
Feels great to be here. I mean, Hilbert College, it's awesome that, we have this space, talk about, Buffalo sports right now, the Sabres. It feels good. It feels even better because we're joined by the one, the only Mike Bunt as well in studio. Bunty, how you feeling right now with how things are going, Sabres, everything here at Hilbert?
I'm just pumped to be here right now. This is fun, exciting day, debuting the new studio, talking Sabres hockey. I know we're going to have a blast this show. And Donnie, I know it's a little bit of a different crew for you, but we're going to have some fun, me, Gatesy, and you.
Yeah, it's a bit different crew, but we do have our guy joining remote. I'm going to bring him in. Slick Al right here, holding up the QR. Slick, also sick. Listen, he wanted to come in today, but leadership said, we're putting an end to this pandemic right now of Donnie getting Slick sick and Maniac sick. We have to end this train of getting people sick. So we put you in isolation, Slick. How you feeling?
This is similar to when Josh Allen wanted his 40th touchdown at the end of the year in the last game of Highmark Stadium. The higher-ups have to make a call at some point and say, we need you healthy down the line. Not much I can do there. We'll be good to go in a bit. But like you said, Don wanted to come in. This train never stops, and this Slick never stops too. But here we are on virtual.
All right, right on. Well, let's get right into it, fellas. So we got the Sabres game last night. 2 back-to-back games. Let's start in Florida. Gates, what do you see in that Florida win?
Yeah, I mean, that was such a big game from the Sabres because we saw how that game started for Buffalo. They go down 2-0 in the first 10 minutes. I think everyone in Buffalo that's ever watched a Sabres game before had those dark thoughts in the back of their head start creeping forward like, oh no, this is the same old Sabres team we saw before, especially because their previous game was at home in Montreal. They blew a third period lead. So their next outing in Florida on the road, they go down 2-0 early. It's like, this great Sabres team that we saw before, we thought things were different. This is just the same old team, just camouflage and new skin. But that couldn't be farther from the truth because the Sabres stormed back in that game, scoring throughout their whole lineup and win in regulation 5-3 against the Panthers. And that win really solidified to myself that this team, they can take punches, they can come back, and they're not counted out of any game they're in. Whether they're getting scored on early, they're giving up early goals, they're never counted out. Bunty, I want to hear your thoughts on this game because this was such a feel-good after-the-fact moment that this Sabres team can do that against the back-to-back defending Stanley Cup champions.
I mean, there's good and bad to it. I mean, obviously, you don't like falling behind 2-0 early. That's a scary thing. I honestly didn't think it was the Sabres' best performance. I give them a lot of credit for battling through adversity, getting back in the game, finishing on a 5-1 run to end the game. But what they really did is they took advantage of their opportunities. They finished their chances, and they had great goaltending. But when you're getting outshot, 40 to 20, you didn't play a good hockey game. You found a way to get it done. And that's not a bad thing, but I think it needs to be acknowledged. I don't think we should be saying, well, great game down in Florida or great game against Tampa. They weren't great games. But in the NHL, over the course of an NHL season, you have to find a way to win some games where you're outplayed and you don't have your best performances. And that's something that they lacked in the past that maybe now they're starting to find a way to pull through even when the odds are against them.
I think that's the most beautiful thing, too, is we're seeing the Sabres team, if you look at it on paper, it looks ugly. They're being outshot in games. They're being, on the stat sheet, it doesn't look pretty, but they're finding ways to win. Every other Sabres team we've seen in years prior consistently found ways to lose games. We're seeing this opposite of that where, over the course of a long season, you're like, they shouldn't be winning this many games from it. But it's truly impressive to me to see that no matter what, they're finding ways to just get a goal here, make the most of the chances that they do get, and try to lock things down defensively. Don, what did this first game in Florida mean to you to, get the Sabres back in the win column against an Atlantic team trying to catch them in the playoff race as well?
Well, I actually liked their game. I know we got outshot. I think that part of that was we had some penalty trouble. We have that late 5-on-3, right, that we got to kill.
Yes, huge kill.
Moments like that are when, you're surviving through and maybe the stat sheet doesn't look, like it. But I thought in terms of the flow of the game, we weren't specifically outplayed. And listen, that's hockey sometimes. Sometimes you take a penalty to stop a goal, stop a chance of a goal, kill momentum. I think we had 4 or 5 that game. So a little bit of penalty trouble. I don't hate it, though. That's hockey. Those things happen. Goaltending played great. And I specifically like Payne Krebs' game. 1 goal, 2 assists. He kind of was part of that first goal that they got, made a costly mistake. They talked about it in the post-game show, how he kind of, I think at intermission they interviewed him, and he said he hated his play on that, but he turned it right around. And, hey, we've talked about Lindy, now the Adams Trophy favorite. We get that media timeout, gets the team huddled on the bench. I mean, that's the one thing. We can go back through the drought and look at all these coaches, but he has been consistently the one coach where if something's not good, if they start the game rough, he brings everybody together. And, it's not always passionate screaming, but it's like, hey, settle down, lock in, we got this. As soon as he did that, game completely changed. It wasn't even a comeback because we tied it up in the first period before we even got out of it. Now, Payne Krebs, we're going to talk about his play last night, and that's kind of the story with him. He's a little inconsistent, but what do you see, Slick?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Krebsy because I have a lot to say for last night. But with that being said, first, I'm glad you brought up the goaltending, the Panthers game, because we did see that slow start game where it was like it's similar to was this going to be that old Sabres team? But Alex Lyon gets his kittens or ducks in a row per se and finds a way to hold this game the rest of the way. And the Sabres, like we were saying, just absolute grit. Find a way to resiliently battle back against one of these teams, like you said, that's chasing us in the Atlantic. But probably, I mean, they're not looking too hot right now in terms of the standings and the way the East keeps going. But I'll let you guys cue over to the Lightning game because I definitely have some more to say about that. But I'm curious to hear your early thoughts as well.
Yeah, that Lightning game was almost in that same track of the Florida Panthers game where the Sabres give up the first goal yet again. They 1-0, 10 minutes into the game. It feels like it's almost a set in stone thing right now with the Sabres team that they're going to give up the first goal, but they're not going to roll over and die. We've seen in previous Sabres seasons of, if things don't go their way, they kind of fall apart. It feels like this team almost needs that adversity of, kind of getting into a game a bit where, you saw Peyton Krebs get put on the first line. We've seen Lindy Ruff make some roster movements throughout, the course of things going well to try to make this team better. So the Sabres give up that early goal, and then we see the man, Michael Samuelsson, get 2 goals for Buffalo, and we could talk hours about just the progression he's had in his career this season alone, but he gets the Sabres on the board with his shots where, again, we see all throughout the season, if he just has like half a second to like charge up his shot, basically, he's going to score every time with it. We saw him tie the game at 1. He gave the Sabres the lead early in the third period. Then we have a back and forth game, which we'll get to in a bit. But Bunty, I want to ask you real quick, on the Sabres team in that Tampa Bay game, when you see the Sabres are down in a game, is that something that you still worry about with the Sabres going forward of, maybe not having the best starts to games? Or is this something that you're like, okay, this kind of wakes them up and they'll take a punch to the jaw, but they'll swing back with 3 hooks?
I mean, you definitely don't want to be going down in a bunch of games. I kind of separate the last 2 games from this overall stretch where the Sabres have been red hot. I think for the most part, the Sabres have played really solid hockey throughout. I know they allowed the first goal in each of these games, but if we're looking back to the 5-game winning streak before it was snapped against Montreal, they had 3-goal leads in each of those games. So it's not like the Sabres have consistently gotten off to the slow starts. People bring up the shot differentials. A lot of that is the Sabres jump out to big leads, and then in the third period, they're playing to hold on to it and kill clock and keep things going. I'll be honest, I think there's some reasons to be encouraged by what we saw against Florida and Tampa. I know you guys are definitely more encouraged than I was about the overall play. I like that they battled. I like that they're finishing chances. I do think, though, that the Sabres were on their heels a bit in both of these games. Credit to Samuelsson for scoring 2 goals yesterday.
Yes.
The first one, a little bit more lucky than talent. But if we're being real about how the Sabres played in Tampa, it was a Colton Ellis game for the first 59 minutes and 30 seconds. He really kept them in that game. The Sabres were outchanced. They were outshot heavily. It took them over 12 minutes, I think, in the second period to get their first shot on net in that period. They were not generating much offense at all. Now, what I think is different about this team, as you kind of said earlier, is that this team has more fight to them. They have more confidence that they can get in a game. So while you don't want to fall down 1 goal or 2 goals, especially on the road and hostile environments, they have the belief and they have the skill that they can do it. I think in the past, the Sabres had the talent, but they didn't have that fight. So people ask me, what's the difference between this year and previous years? What it really comes down to is in previous years, the team quit. Previous years, the team didn't battle hard, and in previous years, they didn't have the confidence or the buy-in with their coaching. You have confidence, grit, hustle, and then buy into what the team is as a whole. That's what gives you a chance. And what have we always said? If they could just get this game to overtime, if they could find a way to steal a game here, those could be the 5, 6, 7 points to get them in the race. And instead, now those points aren't just them in the race. It might be what gets them in the top 2 or 3 of their division to maybe put themselves in a position to win a playoff series.
Yeah, I mean, agree. On Monday's show, we were all kind of talking, what do we want from this last 3 games before the Olympic break? And we all said it's 4 points. Not only do we want, we expect. It was a Tampa game we didn't have high hopes for, but the only thing I was hopeful for is I said this is a great test. See how good these guys actually are. Now, I'll say I do agree. I thought this was a tale of 2 games. I thought Florida Panthers, you have the Kachuk comments. He says these guys are way more skilled than us. like point blank. But it also goes to show skills and everything when it comes to winning a cup. But then we play the Lightning. I mean, they took the play to us for most of the game. That's going to happen. It kind of remind me of how we play against Carolina as well. They just are more experienced. They have more veteran guys, and they just seem to, for as fast as we are, they just seem to be a little stronger on the puck. That comes with, guys that having a team full of guys that are in their early 30s. They just have more mass as well as speed. And honestly, the goals that we scored against Vasilevsky, I thought were a little weak. Samuelson's second one, not, one of a goal I don't expect him to let in often. So leaving with 1 point, I'm happy with. Now I think it's different, and a lot of Sabres fans might be down because this team has shown so much magic where we come, back and kind of take over the third, and we scored that one goal. What was there? 8 minutes left or something? 5 minutes left?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
5 minutes left, and we're all thinking, where's Krebs? Get him out there for that empty netter. So a lot of people might be, we should have won that game, giving it up late. But I think getting 1 point was more of a steal for us. Finishing this 3-game stretch with 5 points, huge. Gonna have to just take care of business tomorrow against Pittsburgh at home.
Definitely too. And Bunty, you put out a tweet when the Sabres were down nothing in Florida that put so much fear into me that it was genuinely very possible at that time that the Sabres could have gone in the Olympic break on a 4-game losing streak, losing, to Montreal. They could have easily lost that Florida game. And then all of a sudden that Tampa Bay game became, I don't want to say a must win, but it kind of felt like it was going to be at that point. But the Sabres, quelled those concerns. They put things together. But Donna, you talked about the goals the Sabres scored. Those came off them doing the right things. The first Samuelson goal, you have an incredible Beck Malensine forecheck, great, net front presence by him and Kozak, allowed Samuelson to get that great chance. We're seeing the Sabres
hot zone.
Yeah,
he had that from the same spot on shorthanded. What was it against Montreal a couple weeks ago? So yeah,
I think the Rangers too, where it was at MSG. Yes,
it was that game, not Montreal. Yeah,
and his second goal too, from a breakout from Krebs in the corner to McLeod hanging out of the puck in the neutral zone. The Sabres are scoring by doing the right things. The Doan power play goal, similar to manner of the Sabres hanging out of the puck, tiring out Montreal, and Doan just doing a great job in front of the net, finding a lane for a Tage Thompson pass. This Sabres team, that's what's giving me the most hope right now is we know they have skill, they have great players, but they're using it in a way that's sustainable for them to win games where the blueprint of them winning is not the same every night. We look back to the Sabres team of a few years ago where they were a run and gun team, winning games 6-5. That wasn't sustainable, and we saw it. Down the stretch, they needed to go on a crazy run. Right now, it doesn't matter what kind of game they're in, whether they're playing, Tampa Bay like this, Florida, or if you're going to play, the New York Rangers. They're going to play however they can to get a win. That's what's most encouraging to me right now. Bunty, any kind of final thoughts on the Sabres team on this Florida stretch that makes you feel, kind of good going into this Olympic break?
I mean, you got to feel good about where the standings are right now. You are, not 8 points or something like that ahead of Ottawa. And then obviously Columbus is nipping at them right now. But Columbus, with the way the divisions are working, some of these Metro teams, even if they catch up to the wild card, they might just catch up to their own division first. So even if you are in that wild card situation, it might not really even come into play. I'm at the point now, the Sabres are at that 75 to 80% chance of where they should make the playoffs. You look at their point total right now, they're at 70 points, 26 games remaining at this point. So you go 500 hockey the rest of the way. That gets you to 96 points, and that should get you in. The Sabres are pacing at, I think, 62%, around 62.5% point total percentage this year. So you're talking about a whole 10% lower the rest of the way gets you into the playoffs. So you should be confident right now about this team in what they're capable of. I would love to see a win over Pittsburgh to go into the break with 5 points in 3 games that you really didn't know what was going to happen. And then the last thing I'd say, it could get better. Like, let's be real. They've been doing this without Josh Norris. And I'm a big believer that Norris is the third most talented guy on this entire team when he's healthy. Now, he's never healthy, but when Norris is healthy, the guy is a difference maker. Benson was out last night, and this break is coming at a perfect time for him to get back and hopefully get healthy. UPL has been out, and he's going to unfortunately miss the Olympics, but this gives him time to get healthy. And yes, Ellis played great, and Ellis has been a very good third goalie this year. But if we want to see this Sabres team at their best, you need Norris healthy. You need Benson healthy, and you need a rotation between Lyon and UPL. So I think all things considered, factoring in how the last couple of games have gone, and then factoring in where some of the health-related things with the Sabres, you take this Olympic break at this point, use it as a refresher. You hope that Dowling and Tage stay healthy overseas, and that you're recharged and ready to go when you come back.
Yeah, love it. Slick, you got any final thoughts on the Lightning game?
I want to know what the hell Peyton Krebs had. Does he need to be investigated for this one, guys? Like, is this the next FBI look? Because that was really bad. I feel like I could have tapped that in. Not saying this as someone who bet him any time to score or anything, but like, come on, my dude. After looking like a world beater against the Panthers, you go and then do that same shit on the first line. Not too impressive. I was just like Bunt in the fact that I thought I was just impressed that the Sabres found a way to even be in that game. They really didn't deserve to. The first period, it really was the Colton Ellis show until it wasn't. And even then, he still had a great game. So I thought the collapse at the end was monumental, given that you did find a way to put yourself in a position to win the game. But with that being said, I'll take a point, and let's just finish strong with 2 more tomorrow night before the Olympic break.
And there is one more thing I do want to bring up. I am happy they got a point in Tampa, but if you're a bigger picture guy and you're thinking, well, you have a chance of not just finishing second and third in your division, but you have a chance to win the division, that's where you should be really upset about last night, because now you're sitting 6 points back at Tampa. You hold on in regulation for that win. You're at 71 points. Tampa's at 74. And we're not talking about, hey, maybe we can finish second or third in the Atlantic Division. You're talking about, well, what if we win this damn division and then we're playing Columbus in the first round, or we're playing some random team like the Islanders? Then you could start talking about, well, maybe we can make a Stanley Cup run, but that's all premature. And I still think Tampa's going to run away with it at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to catch Tampa because, I mean, we're 6 points back and we have 2 games on them we played 2 more games than them. Krebs, don't want to pick on him too much, but in that overtime, too, I mean, Dowling's trying to chip it back to him. He's just out of position, and it ends up in, for
Gensel.
Yeah, in that overtime breakaway. And honestly, too, before that, we had the possession. I was thinking, I'm like, we might actually steal the 2 here, but go to overtime. That just goes to show how things can sway. But we got Black and Red Goat Head tomorrow night, and on top of that, to make the vibes even higher, we got the Crossing Swords podcast live from Sandbaggers. We're going to be going live from 5:30 to 6:30, but we're getting there a little early. And if you don't know Sandbaggers in Hamburg, it's Dane Smith of Bandits fame. It's his spot. He's opening his doors to us, so we'll have a live show there. And this is almost like a little preview of that. Like, this is the Crossing Swords podcast takes over Trainwreck today.
Yeah, we got a little insurgency before tomorrow night. It's going to be a big game. I mean, this is the last Sabres game we'll have for a few weeks as they go on the Olympic break, and a chance to really cement where they're at in the standings, where they're at on this push to end the drought with, 3 weeks of no hockey, basically. So what's that last, taste going to be in Sabres fans' mouth of, are they going to have a big win at home with, feels like the 700th goat head night of the season, or are they going to have a bit of a letdown going into this break, and we're going to have to wait a while to get something better? But Bunch, you're going to be at the game on Thursday.
I'll be there.
What are you looking for from the Sabres from this game? Just trying to get through with 2 points, or
honestly, I want to see a strong effort. I want to see a W. Pittsburgh's a tough team, though, and it's weird because Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Boston, all teams that had low expectations from the national media going into the year are amongst the best teams in the Eastern Conference right now. Pittsburgh's been red hot. Every night I'm looking at the box score, they're winning games. Sidney Crosby is looking like prime Sidney and of getting Malkin's back. And so this is going to be a tough game. The Sabres normally struggle against the Penguins at home, even during recent times when the Penguins haven't been a great team. So I don't expect this to be an easy game for the Sabres. I think it could go either way. All I'm going to say is the last week or so has been a combination of a lot of annoying things for me as a Sabres fan. I can't stand the Penguins. Like when I was a kid, I had a soft spot for them when they had Kovalov and Yager and Lemieux and everything. But whenever they come to Buffalo, you always get these entitled Penguins fans, and then there's all these 10-year-old kids that think that they have this great team. They're screaming for Crosby and Malkin, and it just gets under my skin. And that comes on the heels of playing Montreal and them French-Canadian fans screaming ole, ole, ole every second. Can't stand that. And then to top it off, thank God we got 3 out of 4 points in Florida, because I remember being younger. Gatesy, you're probably not old enough to even remember these, but it used to be Buffalo takeovers when we would go down to Florida and Tampa Bay. And those would be games that you would expect the Sabres to take care of business, to the point now where these people that just discovered hockey within the last 10 years now look down on us and think we're the laughing stock of the league. So I want to see a win. I want to go into the break. And honestly, as much as I've enjoyed games every other night, I'm looking forward to a little bit of a break where my heart can kind of get back on track and relax for a couple weeks before things really get ramped up for the stretch run.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's probably going to be another sellout. You know, I mean, that's the thing. That's who would have thought a year ago would Sabres be selling out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night games. But we'll have to see what the opposition percentage in the arena is. Now, I want to float something real quick before we finish our Sabres. Well, not finish ours. We're going to be talking about the Sabres most of the show. But so back when I played NHL, like 04, 05, before the Slug era, you could change, what was the home and away jerseys. And I would have the black goat head as the, what was then away before they switched that. And then I would actually have the white, blue and gold crescent ones. Now, I've said this before. I'm like, clearly they love the goat heads. We could do something really interesting where we're the first team in NHL history. Well, other than I think Calgary Flames when they had the deer head. Oh yeah, and then the C for their blacks, C for whites. But you could have your home and away jerseys have completely different logos. And I'm saying let's just lock in the black as our dark jerseys and keep the white and blue and golds as our away ones. Thoughts on that?
I can't even comprehend what that would go through just from, the color schemes alone. I kind of like the idea of the goat heads being special, but they use them so much now. It's basically their primary home jersey at this point, Don. It feels like they played better in them this year. I was a little scared at the start of the season, but recently they're getting that. The fans seem to like it. The only issue is they just got back finally to the royal blue a few years ago after the scary years of the navy and the silver. That was just bad. And that terrible Steve Ott jersey alternate. It feels like the Sabres finally have a great problem of we have great jerseys to choose from. Bunty, you got the goat head in.
The goat head represents winning for this franchise. You think about the goat head era. They haven't worn the goat heads as a primary for that long of a time. It was the late 90s, early 2000s. What did they do in that 6, 7? I did not say that intentionally. Put that on the record right there.
You did, yeah. Put on the graphic card.
What did the Sabres do during that period of years where they were in the go heads? Oh, they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then they went to the Eastern Conference Finals again. And then they decided, you know what? We just had a special 05, 06 year. Let's go to a slug. Maybe they win the cup the next year. Maybe Drury and Briere decide to stay in Buffalo if they keep the go heads.
So the slug story is interesting. You're right. It was only 9 years, though. I think 97, they debuted with Ted Nolan. Or no, that was Ruff's first year. Did Ted coach 1 year with the Black and Reds?
I don't think so.
No, because I think it was 97 when the new arena, and they had the whole rebranding. Like there's a whole story.
One of the coolest videos ever when they unveiled the new jerseys in the arena too.
That's when they had like it was like their video editors got all this new tech, and they're like, we can use lasers now. Let's do it. Everything's black and red lasers that are carving up our logo in the ice. Really funny stuff. And then, but by 06 was the last year, or playoffs of 06, they're gone. And then the slug came about because there were 2 years where Reebok made the jerseys for the NHL, and one of their guys basically approached the Sabres organization and was like, I want to like debut this new design. Now there were other jerseys around the league too that had the weird like swoop, like you can see on that, but they picked, they're like, I want the Sabres to be the ones that we're going to do this experiment. Numbers on the front. And they needed a new logo. Hey, listen, the slug gets a lot of hate. I think it's a nostalgia thing. Where were you?
Slug guy.
Yeah, Slick, we grew up as slug guys. Are you itching for the slug to come back, or are you happy keeping it far away?
I'm not itching for the slug to come back. I like it, seeing it in the arena. Like Don said, it's nostalgic, but not everything that's nostalgic needs a comeback. Just like not every movie that's nostalgic needs a sequel or a modern day rerun. It's kind of similar to that. Gatesy, we were slug babies, but I do remember all the content. Like we weren't initially. When I fell in love with the Sabres, they were in the black and red for sure. And although it happened quickly, the transition to the slug, I do remember the controversy initially. Like, if we like to pretend that there wasn't any right away, there definitely was, and it's just an absolute
that was hated.
Yeah,
I mean, but at the same time, I remember that first Christmas, you could not get a jersey. They were like sold out, all stores everywhere. I remember my dad, because I wanted a Drury jersey so bad, bought one on eBay that was blank, and then went to like people to stitch on all the stuff themselves. Like, you could not find a slug jersey anywhere for Christmas that first year.
Well, it's just crazy to think that you go to the Eastern Conference Finals and you do a total rebrand of who you are. I mean, look at like if any team did that now, that'd be like, what are you doing?
I mean, in hindsight, it makes sense when you remember that Thomas Golisano was the owner of the team, and looking back at how he let Briere and Drury walk. Maybe being a little cheap was a motivating factor. So you change the jerseys, you make some money. I mean, at the end of the day, it was weird. It definitely was weird. And even from the very beginning, when they were revealing things little by little, nobody was in favor of it.
No. But yeah, I think the Sabres game Thursday, big one there. I just want a nice taste in our mouth before we get into this Olympic break with no Sabres hockey. And it's going to be an interesting time for Sabres fans. We got the Olympics with Tage representing USA, Dahlin representing Sweden. Unfortunately, UPL's lower body injury is something that's going to keep him out of the Olympics now. So it's an unfortunate break for UPL. Hopefully, he can come back to the Sabres healthy after that stretch. And, thankfully for the Sabres, there hasn't been, a lot of bad things going on. It's been, feel like good thing after good thing after good thing. And who would have thought at this point in the year, Don, Sabres fans wouldn't be pulling their hair out. They wouldn't be crashing out. But I want to check in with you. So let's check in with the Trainwreck Sports Crash Out Line, sponsored by William Attar Law Offices.
Yeah, so the lines are pretty bare. I think it's really just was Bills fans lighting it up for a whole week while that coaching search was going on. But if you got to crash out, or again, if you want, we're opening it up because some people are starting to text us, happy thoughts instead of just all the dark places Buffalo sports are taking them to. Call or text us at 716-226-6263. Leave us a voicemail, shoot us a text. This is not a live line. I've had people call and be like, hello, am I on air? Like, no, we can't do that yet. We do have the tech, but we can't trust everyone on the internet not to say things. And until we have a dump button and a delay, we can't trust you guys to not
quite literally
light up these.
waiting on the dump button. That's it.
Yeah. We're trying to get this dump button. We're in a new studio. Maybe we'll set up a live line soon. But until then, give us a voicemail or a text. Me, not much to crash out with either. Things are going pretty good in my world. Yeah. I mean, I was sick last week, but seemed to be getting better. What about you guys? You guys got, I guess, actually, if I do have something that's weirded me out a little bit, is Gatesy over here kind of looks like a floating head because his shirt is just completely blending in with the curtains. He must have planned that. I don't know. That's some wacky stuff. So that's kind of messing with me. What about you, Bun? Anything worth crashing in about?
Yeah, there's no crash out going on right now. Now, if you asked me a week ago if I'm crashing out on anything, it'd be over the fan reaction to everything going on with Joe Brady and the Bills coaching search. Just, I don't want to be the guy that puts my fist up at the fans and tells them what to be happy or upset about. But I think after the recent coordinator moves and everything that they've done, people now are finally getting on board with why the Bills hired Joe Brady. But it frustrated me that it took people what took place the last week for people to finally get on board with it. But I'm not going to crash out on that. I'll stay calm tonight.
Wait, tell me Bills fans have rash takes on things happening? I'm not believing a word you're saying right now, Bunty. But, yeah, I mean, it feels like it's been a good time, especially in the Buffalo sports world of recently where, I mean, I do feel like with each passing day with Joe Brady and things happening, I'm understanding the move more. I'm, at least doing the mental gymnastics enough to buy into what this head coaching will look like for the Buffalo Bills, how that will be, and just things for the Sabres now are just continue to be great. We're all on the same page. Just keep moving the goalposts farther and farther back for this team. It's like they're kicking a 90-yard field goal at this point with how far we keep pushing these goalposts back for them. They're hitting those strides. They've got 3 of 4 in Florida. It really does feel like a great time to be alive. Unfortunately, I am blending in completely with the curtain. I didn't realize that until you talked about it, Don. So
it was on my mind for the whole first.
I was going to point it out very first thing on the show, and then I was like, you know what? Last minute sub, like you can't even give him shit for it. Like
I was trying to ignore it, but it just every time I was talking, I was creeping in. It was I had to address it. Now it's out in the open, and we can
move past it.
Yeah, Slick, you crashing out anything in your neck of the woods?
I'm only crashing out about how higher ups won't let me in.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm sure it'll be okay. We'll get through this together. And
look, I'm taking over your seat for good.
Oh my God! I mean, like it'd be an honor for you to do so, and maybe I could crash out at home and have a cocktail or something. Who knows?
Doesn't sound too bad. I mean, speaking of cocktails, Don, we got some on Herd a Holiday. We got something to get us through Sunday where we have, the Seahawks as 4.5-point favorites against the Patriots. I want to know, Bunty, how are you feeling about seeing the Patriots, back in on Sunday? And is this a game where you feel confident the Seahawks can keep them out of winning another Lombardi?
I'm scared, man. I'm really scared that we're about to see the Patriots be Super Bowl champs. And you know what? The line at 4.5 is much tighter than I originally thought it would be. And then everybody is talking about how Seattle's going to blow them out, how Seattle is the much better team in the metrics. And every time I hear stuff like that, it goes the other way. I am very scared the Patriots are about to win this game. And if they win with Drake May in their first relevant season in half a decade, that's just added torture to being a Bills fan. You have the best football player on the planet on your team in his prime for 6 years in a row, and you can't get past the AFC Championship game. And then the Patriots get one of the easiest schedules in NFL history, and their path is playing Justin Herbert with no offensive line, C.J. Stroud, who's just giving the football over for free to the opponents, and then you play a backup quarterback in a snowstorm. And if they beat Seattle, they're 60 minutes away from winning it all. So, you know what? We should have done the crash out line after this, because that's what I'll be crashing out about. Because at 4.5, I'm picking the Patriots to cover. And, you know what? I would put a good amount of money on it too. I'm not saying the Patriots will win, but I would put a lot of money on them covering that 4.5.
Yeah, well, the lines will be open, so yeah, be sure to call.
Yeah, clip it and post it.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll include that for our crash out segment. Though, especially because it moved down a point, never good. But yeah, as someone that's watched enough of these big games, seems like anytime everyone is all on one side, it goes the other way. Including there's been times it's benefited the Patriots and it's been against them. I think the two biggest upsets numerically, 2 out of the top three were with the Patriots. One was the Rams, the greatest show on turf. And then the other one was when they got upset by the Giants. When everyone said on the 2017 with the perfect record. I think third of all time was Oakland Raiders, Buccaneers with John Gruden as a rookie head coach winning. And everyone was on the Raiders that game, I remember. So it does concern you a little bit when all the public and myself too. I said, I mean, they're gonna crush the Patriots. I think their defense is too good. But then I don't think I'm that smart that everyone is tuning into what Donnie Fraunhofer has to say about the big game and following suit. I don't think I have a cult of followers like that yet, at least. So it is concerning. Friday's show, I think we're going to be breaking down some props.
Yep.
Both the player props and some of the goofy Super Bowl props. We all love to bet those goofy Super Bowls, from the coin toss to the national anthem length. And hopefully, we got Maniac back and Slick because Maniac owes us a punishment still. Maybe this is his punishment, being down with a fever, unable to get out of bed for the first show.
We'll give him a cop out. Maybe that's why he wanted to bring pickle juice in. Maybe he saw he felt himself getting sick and he thought there was some secret remedy that drinking pickle juice will just get him fine again. He was bringing that up. So we'll have to see. I'm tempted to throw a bone and just give him the cop out, given he said his head is spinning, but
Yeah. What about you, Slick? You concerned that this is a creeping Patriots dub and which I hate, as a Bills fan, I have, now that the coach search moved on, I've gone full attention to Sabres where the vibes are good. And there's a percentage of me that is I don't want to give a shit about this, even if they do win, whatever, let's focus on the Bills. But I can't help myself and torture myself and feel terrible if Patriots pull this out. How are you feeling going into this?
I'm not going to lie. It's felt kind of good not paying attention to Super Bowl row and media row for the first time in
big game roll. Big game.
Yeah, it feels like a very long time. And although I see where Bunt is coming from, I just haven't seen enough from this Patriots offense to lead me to believe that they're going to be too competitive with Seattle on Sunday. I think the line being 4.5, even to begin with 5, is a huge indicator because it's never that big for the Super Bowl. And how I do agree everyone is on the same page. I could see a Patriots cover. There's still room to cover on a field goal for the Seahawks to win this game. I think the line opening and staying somewhat where it is an indicator. I'll let it be known that Seattle will go home victorious. Although I'm going to be on the edge of my seat and be crashing out just as much as everyone else if the Patriots do find a way to get this done. They've just not shown me anything in the playoffs that leads me to believe that they're going to be superior over Seattle, who has a defense just as good, if not better, than theirs on Sunday. So I think Drake May will continue to turn the ball over and Seattle capitalize on those turnovers and hopefully go home Super Bowl champions. And it still does pain me to see Darnold in this position before Josh Allen. But you know what? Good for him. They're boys, so can't get too hung up on it. All we can hope for is a Patriots loss at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everything we've seen throughout this playoffs, throughout this season, it almost gives me a little bit of false sense of security, but it's the New England Patriots in the big game. Anything can happen, Bunty. It's a scary thought.
It's just annoying because you feel like the Bills have deserved at least an opportunity to compete for a title, and they haven't even gotten to this point yet. Where say if the Bills had already gotten to the Super Bowl, they didn't win it, would have been frustrating. But you would at least say they had their chance. if we haven't even had our chance yet. And it's because we've had to go through Kansas City almost every single year. This was the first time we didn't have to go through them. And we just let a sequence of crazy events keep us from having a chance at going there again. And this is what I will say. This Super Bowl is going to be huge for narratives because at one point in time when Joe Burrow took the Bengals to that Super Bowl, carried by his defense, did that change things for the Bengals and how they were perceived? Yeah, the Bengals were thought of as a top-tier team. But at the end of the day, the Bengals fizzled out. And you look at Joe Burrow and you're like, cool, they made a Super Bowl, but the Bills are the better team long term. If the Patriots go into the Super Bowl, they lose, and then next year the Bills go back to winning the AFC East, you just look at it as, okay, the Patriots had one really special year, weak schedule, they took advantage of it, and they nearly pulled it off, but then the Bills regained their form and took over. But if the Patriots win this with Drake May, we will have to hear about this until the end of time.
Forever.
And
yes.
that is what scares me. Because think about this. They win this game, and 5 years from now, the Bills still haven't won one or haven't gotten to one. We're going to be hearing about how Drake May had this special career and that Josh Allen was the guy that never could take advantage. And that is what would traumatize me for the rest of my life, is if a guy like Josh Allen doesn't get it with all of his special talent because his defensive-minded head coach messed up in the playoffs 6 consecutive years, while Drake May gets one of the best defensive runs in playoff history to get there and carry him on his back. Like, Drake May's not doing any of that.
No.
It's Vrabel and his defense. And when you have a defensive-minded head coach like McDermott, you would have just asked that maybe once out of these 6 years since 2020 that he could have maybe helped his quarterback, but not once. So everyone that was defending like McDermott and why he shouldn't have been fired, that's why McDermott's gone. Because Vrabel did it for his team. McDermott didn't.
Yeah, and right now it feels like it's all about supporting Josh Allen. We saw him on Nick Wright's show, right, Donnie? I saw. You got anything on that?
Yeah, so he appeared on Nick Wright's show. I just saw this late last night. You know, the probably top of the list, Josh Allen hater, and top of the list, Pat Mahomes stan. You know, doesn't think he's untouchable. He's really been the guy more than anyone that says Josh Allen can't win the big one. And Josh ends up appearing on his show. And for about 15 minutes, it was kept pretty light. Wasn't a lot of talk, but goes to show, I think, how good of a sport Josh is, and Nick, love or hate him, he's an entertainer. That's why he does what he does. And then they also had Adam Zeigler's cartoon on there. I want to show you the footage of their show and get some kind of licensing thing coming from our friends over at whatever. What's the first things first? Is that Fox?
Is that FS1?
FS1, yeah. So we don't, but we'll give them a plug. Check that out. It's a pretty good segment, especially two Buffalo guys. Josh Allen had showed the cartoon Adam Zeigler's had of him holding Nick Wright upside down, shaking him, and all these papers flying out.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it says turnover machine. Like, so he's pretty much turning him over. And then Nick played along with it and wore the suit, found like the exact suit that was in the cartoon. And Josh is like, whoa, looks kind of familiar. Who is that guy? It's like, wait, why are you dressed the same? Is that you? So that's pretty funny. Glad he can be in high spirits about all of this. Yeah, so that's kind of best a good distraction from this Super Bowl and this big game. Jesus,
we need a little.
Yeah. We need that dump button ASAP. Don't come after me, please. We'll never hear the end of it, especially with Vrabel. And if Vrabel wins this one, like you said, Bunt, like that's what I was saying. Before it even happened, I was telling people I'm going into the Denver game. I thought McDermott, it was going to take another week because I'm like, if the Patriots get to the big game, he has to get fired just on principle, just because Vrabel first year in New England with a second-year QB somehow turns it around. Now, and again, that'll be the narrative coming out of it. Unfortunately, I hope McDermott, wish him the best. There's been guys that have great coaches that have not gotten it done in certain places and left and got it done elsewhere. Tony Dungy, one of them, he built that team that Gruden won with, goes over the Colts and wins some. But that unfortunately will be his legacy. And I just got word from our producers. We're going to flip things around a little bit, and to cap off our talk about the big game, we're going to check in with our friends over at William Mattar and give a teaser of what they're cooking up for the big game.
What scares William Mattar the most? Find out the full story February 8th during the big game. Hurt in a car? Only call William Mattar. 444-4444.
Oh my goodness.
What a tease. What a tease. That's some exciting stuff. Now, we talked about tease. We talked about crashing out. One of the biggest stories right now, and this has people crashing out even if they won't admit it, maybe in closed doors. Huge news out of the Pagula Enterprises with the Sabres and the Bills cutting ties with WGR 550, airing their games. Boys, this is a major story, whether they want to admit it or not, whether anyone wants to admit it. This is a huge shakeup in the land of not just local media, but media going forward, especially with how the Bills have become the darling of the National League. What are our first thoughts about this? Mainly the one question is I'd say in terms of working with media, and you're probably the most trained, most experienced with it. You've worked as a reporter, as a journalist. What does this mean for local radio in general, and them specifically?
Yeah, this is huge, and there's a lot of different ways this can go moving forward. But this is also a trend that's happening throughout the entire country in terms of teams trying to take control of their own broadcasts. I saw a lot of fans talking, Brandon Beane is power hungry. He didn't like that GR, how things were handled there, and he's the reason why the Bills are leaving the network. That couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth. Who knows what Brandon Beane actually feels about GR and their coverage, but this is the trend. And it's a little different radio from sports networks, but essentially what's been happening in the last five years or so is that sports networks, regional sport networks have been dying. So they've been bleeding money. So teams have basically gone to producing their own broadcasts, and then they sell them to local channels or they stream them. And that's one way of basically airing their games. And they do it so they can have more control over the messaging, partners, marketing, advertising, all that stuff. They have more control, and they're not just outsourcing it to another media company. And some people might say, well, why is this happening now? Why didn't this happen a long time ago? Well, 20 years ago, you didn't have the ability to do this. You didn't have the infrastructure. Teams didn't have advanced media departments, technology. You have more skilled workers than ever before that can produce and do this type of stuff. Look at us right here. Like, we're doing a broadcast in the studio with high-tech cameras in an entire studio. Like, anybody can do this stuff now. And back in the day, you used to have to go to premium media companies to do anything like this. So it's about the Bills being able to control the messaging and have everything centralized. And what does this mean for GR? Well, it's gonna be interesting what this means for GR. They obviously still have the morning show, the afternoon shows, and those are really respected, have huge audiences. And as long as their audience loves what they do, they should still be able to get money and bring in a lot of people. But are they going to lose some listeners? Probably. Being the exclusive home of the Bills and Sabres is a huge point when it comes to advertising, bringing in money, and then bringing in people from outside the region that don't have access to your radio station. And you get exclusive interviews, you get exclusive perks, and think about all the content too. You're talking about 82 Sabres games. NHL season is going to go to 84 soon. You have preseason games, possible playoff games. You have 17 Bills regular season games. You're talking about at minimum 100 events a year. You assume that every game is 3 hours. You add an hour pregame, postgame for like Sabres. That's a minimum of 500 hours of content. You factor in Bills postgame shows and pregames are even longer. And then you have your noon to 3 programming one Bills Live, and then the Sabre Show with Duffer and Baran. That's 15 hours a week too, right there. So you're talking at minimum 650 hours of programming that you're going to have to replace. And how's that going to affect the big shots? Probably not much. Jeremy White, Sneaky Joe, Mike Shope, and the Bulldog, they're all going to do their shows. GR existed long before the Bills and Sabres were the primary home, and they'll exist afterwards. But it's gonna change some things, whether or not people say it will have a massive impact or it'll have no impact. It will have an impact. It's just we'll have to wait to see how the cards play out. And as far as the Bills and Sabres, what's likely to happen, they'll probably produce their own stuff. It'll probably be more positive broadcasts, not that they weren't positive to begin with. And they'll probably find some other local radio partner to air the games and do things that they want.
Yeah, it's definitely a scary thing just looking at the whole media landscape and how it's changed in not only the last 10, 15 years, but the last 5 years as a whole. It's been such a change. Bunty, you talked about, like, look at us here now. It's truly like a different landscape now, and so much has changed. So it's scary for, the guys working in radio who've been there, who've, built their career around this thing and 100+ events. You're losing that access to, all that money being brought in through sponsorships, through ad deals of all the people that listen to Bills games on the radio, what that be, Sabres games through that. Who knows what that's going to look like for them, but they have the personalities in their shows to build on that. We're seeing them too, just using their social medias more of trying to build those out. So, it's interesting to see what they,
and there's other offsets to this too. How much were they paying the Bills and the Sabres to be the official flagship station? Yeah. So you could even say maybe in some ways, maybe they lost money in some of those areas, and maybe they now they won't lose as much. But this is the tough part. When you are the home of the Bills and Sabres, that makes you the number one sports station in the area, and you really don't have any competition. Now, they've been dominant for such a long period of time, 20+ years. I think they've had the Sabres games. Going back to WNSA was the last network that had the Sabres beforehand, and they were part of the Empire Adelphia stream. And that's how Howard Simon, I believe Mike Shope, I think they might have been WNSA people that went to GR after GR got the rights. But you do have some questions. If another station does end up airing games or getting the rights, does that help prop up another station to be a competitor to GR? Or does it go to an FM station that maybe music is their first thing and they just put this as a side thing? Like, I'm old enough to remember 97 Rock being the home of the Buffalo Bills.
Yep,
so
me too.
It's not like this is out of nowhere and it hasn't happened before. It's just that a lot of people in the area that are younger don't remember 97 Rock being the home of the Bills or WNSA being the home of the Sabres. And before those times, like if you go in the 90s and early 2000s, GR wasn't the only sports station like that you could go to for that type of stuff. So a lot of things are going to have to play out. I'm sure they'll be okay, but it's a new time. And it's going to be interesting how this all goes, because I think the Sabres will stay on MSG going forward, because MSG has so many other properties with the Rangers, the Devils, the Knicks, and the Islanders. But if they weren't on MSG, they could have been, even that could have been up for question in the future.
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it just comes down. I'm going to keep this short, keep this moving along, but I think it comes down to money, comes down to things moving along. I mentioned to someone before, I mean, tech changes. I don't think radio will ever be gone, but I think it's just a larger thing that, I don't know the numbers, but I think if you're looking at demographics and who you're advertising to, and the most coveted demographic is 25 to 35, I think people entering that age group less and less are listening to the radio. And it's just like a lot of tech, I'm one of them. I don't have cable TV. I have all the streaming services. I have YouTube TV. And things like that. And you can argue about what's better, but that's just the reality. People that are in their early 20s don't have cable. And cable 10, 20 years ago was the end all be all. So things change, and tech access, like Mike Bunn said, is part of it. 20 years ago, you needed specialized people to operate these production machines, but everything's more user friendly. So we'll see how it shakes out. But our producers just told us, we got to wrap up in about 5 minutes. So we're going to keep this going, and we're going to hit up the Power of Four, sponsored by William Matar Law Offices. All right, so for the Power of Four today, 4 things Sabres fans can take away from the Tampa Bay game. We got 4 of us in studio, so let's all pick one, and let's try to keep it a little succinct so we can get through this and one more sponsored segment afterwards. Why don't you lead it off, Gatesy?
Yeah, the thing I can take away biggest from this Tampa Bay game is the Sabres team can hang with anyone. Top team of the Atlantic, they played with them the whole way. And, they didn't get 2 points, but they played throughout the whole game. They can show that they can, stay in it till the very end.
My biggest takeaway is the Sabres defenseman offensive production is unbelievable, and maybe one of the best periods that they've ever had. This is the first time in Sabres history they've had 3 defensemen score 10 goals in a season, with Mattias Samuelsson, Bo Byram, and Rasmus Dahlin. They're a special group, and it's only going to get better going forward.
Slick, what's your takeaway?
I want to say so badly that my takeaway is Owen Power still can't be relied upon, but I'm not going to do that to our guy. My takeaway is there's still a pretty large skill gap between us and the top of the East, top of the Atlantic, and the Lightning showed it. Obviously, we can hang with them, as Gatesy said, but it's one thing making the playoffs. It's another being in the Eastern Conference Finals with a juggernaut like that. Don, how about you?
Biggest takeaway for me is when you're playing a team like that is you might not be matched up against, you got to take advantage of the power play. We got one yesterday. That's huge. The way you steal games against teams like that, you outwork them, get under their skin, get them frustrated, have them take a stupid penalty, and then capitalize. That was the Sabres in the late 90s to a T. As you play physical, get them in the box, get one on the board, look at Dom Hasek and that, say one's enough to win this game. So, that's what the Sabres are going to have to do. Let us know in the comments what your biggest takeaway of the Tampa Bay Lightning game is against the Sabres. And moving on for our final segment to wrap this up, it is time for Buy or Sell, sponsored by Victory Smoke. Premium cannabis pre-rolls for everyday wins coming soon to a local dispensary. Taste Victory. So for today's Buy or Sell, Gatesy, you got a bunch of these on there. What are we doing for Buy or Sell today?
Right now, I'm going to ask you if you're buying or selling these things, if the Buffalo Sabres can end their drought. Their first one, Bunty. Will the Buffalo Sabres end their drought if they play 500 hockey after the Olympic break and get to 100 points?
By 100%. They get 500 play the rest of the way, they're making the playoffs.
Don?
Yeah, I'm buying that. Buy it. Yeah, they're making the playoffs. Let's go. Slick?
I heard 100 points, and I'm all in. I'm buying.
Yeah, hard not to buy that. Everyone in the East is still winning, but the Sabres going 500 will do that. Bunty, if Tage and Dahlin cool down to what we saw at the start of the season, will the Buffalo Sabres end their drought?
I'll still buy that. They'll make the playoffs even if they cool down. They have more depth than they've had in years. Their goaltending is stepping up. I love the 4 lines they roll out offensively. Yeah, this team is going to make it even if Dahlin and Tage cool down a little bit.
I'm going to sell this just because I think early in the season when we were struggling, we were winning some games, but when Dahlin and Tage were cold at the same time, if both of them are cold, I'm thinking that's trouble for the Sabres. You can't have your C and your A not producing for you. If it's one or the other, that's fine. But if both at the same time get ice cold, that doesn't bode well for us, especially, if we're trying to sneak in.
I'm also going to sell when those two guys are out. Don't know if you can fully rely on Doan to step up every game. Tuck has been streaky, and then the young guys are streaky in itself just because they're young and new to the game, and they need that veteran leadership to also take a step up in order for them to do so. So I'm going to sell. I don't think it would fully sell me on them ending the drought.
I think I'm also going to sell just because of how competitive this Eastern Conference is. Last one here, guys. We don't think it's going to happen, but if the Sabres trade Alex Tuch, will you think they can make the playoffs if Tuch is off this roster?
That's a good one. I'm just going to complete the triple threat. I'll say buy.
Yeah.
Because if they're trading Tuch, they're going to get something good in return. I feel they're not trading Tuch for futures, in my opinion. If they're trading Tuch, they're bringing in somebody that can contribute right now to this team. Otherwise, I don't believe that they're trading him. So I'll buy it because I believe Yarmo is all in on them ending the drought.
I'm going to sell that only because I was all about, you guys remembered at the live stream. I said, yeah, I'm fine with trading Tuch, find some experience. Panarin's name has been thrown around. But after the locker room comments about we're not just here to squeak in the playoffs, we're here to make a run. I think if you trade Tuch, you lose this locker room a little bit. I don't, clearly he's a leader in there. I think, and he's been great on the power kill, as we've been starting to call it. After that soundbite, maybe I'm a schmuck for buying into what he's saying, but he said the right things, and I'm buying into what he's saying and selling the idea of trading Tuch.
I'm also going to sell. I'm right there with Don. I think you lose the locker room a little bit and you lose the fan base a little bit after Tuch says something like that. It's got the fans fired up. Tuch's a Western New York guy for the most part, through and through, and just wouldn't be the move unless you bring in an absolute powerhouse. I can't see a huge splash being made before the playoff run.
Agree. I'm selling as well. It feels like the Sabres aren't going to try to make their team worse. Jarmo Kekalainen has said that. This team has come together with the vibes, with the energy from the fan base. Breaking that up would be the worst thing they could do. So I think I'm going to sell that. The Sabres team is feeling good. We're feeling good as well. We have a Crossing Swords live tomorrow at Sandbaggers in Hamburg, 5:30 start time. Show up, hang out with us. See me, say hi. I'll get a beer on me. We can watch the game, go from there. And we just have a big day ahead. Don, got a little merch to plug as well, I'm hearing.
Do we?
Do we? I mean, a little...
I think that was for tomorrow. Let's plug it now too. Yeah, tomorrow we're going to be rocking our Totally Buffalo Buffalo hockey shirts. Not rocking them now, but we'll have them on the stream tomorrow, and we'll give them another shout out then. So make sure you're stopping by Totally Buffalo. They got a great merch store, plenty of great stuff, local sports and beyond. Everything over there is worth it. So tune in tomorrow and check us out in these amazing shirts. And listen, I know you're going to want one after you see us wearing it. So just go ahead and buy one now. Just, why wait a day?
Why wait a day? Why wait any longer to enjoy the Sabres, to enjoy Trainwreck today? Gentlemen, it's been a great time having, everyone here at Hilbert College of our first show here. Bunty, thanks for joining on. Donnie, thanks for having me here today. Slick, always good to see you. Gentlemen, we have a big week ahead. One last Sabres game. One last, taste of Buffalo sports for a little bit. We still have the Bandits, but things are kind of up in the air with how they're doing. And let's enjoy today. Let's enjoy the stretch. Let's enjoy the Olympics ahead. And always, let's have a good day.